mynews.studio.
A record 300 million travelers are crossing borders this year, but can the world keep up with the surge?
Today is 2025-0601. Let's start with the numbers. Global tourism has hit an all-time high. Over 300 million international travelers in the first quarter. And that's not just pandemic recovery, it's a new record. That's a 5% jump from last year, and 3% higher than even the busiest pre-COVID years.
Right. And what's driving this? Borders have reopened, traveler confidence is back, but there's also been a lot of coordination from airlines, hotels, and governments. It isn't just a return to normal. The demand now is at a level we haven't seen before. Local economies, especially those that depend on tourism, are seeing a real boost.
But the growth isn't happening equally everywhere. For example, Africa saw a 9% jump over last year and is 16% above its 2019 numbers. That's quite a lead. Why is Africa standing out in this rebound?
Africa's surge is down to pent-up demand and better connectivity. More direct flights, visa-on-arrival programs, and focused marketing have made a difference. Also, some countries in Africa stayed more open during the pandemic, so their recovery started earlier.
Asia and the Pacific are posting strong numbers too. A 12% year-on-year increase, now at 92% of pre-pandemic traffic. Northeast Asia nearly closed the gap, with a 23% jump. So, is the recovery playing out the same across the region?
Not quite. Some markets like Japan and South Korea are surging, but others are still lagging behind. Travel restrictions and economic factors are still at play, but the appetite for travel is definitely back.
Europe is still the world's largest tourism region. 125 million tourists in the first quarter. Central and Eastern Europe are leading, up 8% over last year, especially the Baltic states. Do you think safety or other factors are behind this?
Safety perceptions, cultural events, and affordability are all part of it. The war in Ukraine has shifted some travel patterns, making neighboring countries more appealing. But overall, European destinations benefit from both travelers within Europe and visitors from the US and Asia.
The Americas and the Middle East are up as well. South America had a 13% increase, and the Middle East is still 44% above 2019 levels. What's fueling this growth in the Middle East?
It comes down to major events, new attractions, and government investment. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, for instance, has put a lot into tourism infrastructure. Their policies have made it much easier for visitors to arrive and stay longer.
But there are challenges too. The U.S., for example, is expected to lose $12.5 billion in international travel spending this year. What's causing the drop?
Policy and visa issues are the main reasons. Processing delays, stricter requirements, and changing regulations are discouraging visitors. It's quite a contrast to regions making travel easier.
With all this growth, are destinations struggling with over-tourism or sustainability?
Absolutely. Some cities are dealing with infrastructure strain, crowded landmarks, and environmental worries. Venice and Barcelona, for example, are adding tourism taxes, limiting short-term rentals, and encouraging off-season visits to spread out demand. There's a big push for sustainable practices, eco-friendly hotels, conservation fees, responsible travel campaigns.
Would you say this boom marks a turning point for tourism?
It's both a revival and a test. Economically, tourism could inject $16.5 trillion into the global economy by 2035. That means more jobs and business for local communities. But the industry has to balance growth with protecting destinations and local cultures.
On the topic of change, the UN Tourism Executive Council just nominated its first female leader, Shaikha Nowais. How big a moment is this?
It's historic. It signals a shift in governance and in how the sector looks at leadership and equality. Having gender representation at this level can shape priorities, like empowering communities and focusing on sustainable development.
So, to sum up, record-breaking numbers, economic revival, but real policy and sustainability challenges. Plus, a milestone for gender equality in tourism leadership.
Exactly. The surge shows resilience, but it also raises the question: How do we keep travel accessible, profitable, and sustainable? That's what the industry needs to figure out moving forward.
That wraps up our look at the global tourism surge. Thanks for joining us as we unpacked the facts, the challenges, and what's next.
Thank you for listening. This episode was powered by mynews.studio. Try it now for free.